I'd like to start a little bit by asking all of you here, what's the interest in today's conversation? What do you hope to get out of the panel? I'll come to you first, Monika.
Thank you, Claire. I mean, obviously, this topic is huge for the industry, huge for everyone that it is involved in agriculture, and it's quite of importance for me as well. So I'm really looking forward here to hear different perspectives, to share knowledge, hear different expertise, and trigger a discussion as well. You know, not just among us, but maybe also in the wider audience or afterwards at our booths. I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you. And yourself, Mustafa.
Thank you for having me. The topic loss of neonics in Turkey is a significant shift in agriculture policy. Also, as a seed company, we are a part of agriculture industry, and we are affected very dramatically. So I am here today, and maybe we can discuss, and I will learn some ideas and some alternatives, because some applications have been taken in Europe already. So thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. And yourself, Thibaut, lastly.
Thanks, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here. I think from experience, we know that this transition in countries where we've seen it is not easy. It brings a lot of uncertainty, both to our farmers, but also to all the seed companies and industry members. So I'm really interested in understanding, as we pursue this change, especially in Turkey, what are some of the things that we can do to accompany all the industry members in making this transition as smooth as it can be.
Thank you. Monika, I'm coming to you next. Just can you give us a little bit more background about this conversation, a little bit more into detail?
Sure, I can. Well, I think all of us, or most of us, are aware what neonics are. I mean, they're a specific class of chemistry, specific class of insecticides, and they're broadly used in ag. And actually throughout the growing cycle, seed treatment, but also later on. They're an important tool to manage the crop, and they are or were very valuable to the farmers and the whole value chain. Now, back in 2018, actually, in Europe, they decided to no further allow the use of neonics, so it was banned. The transition actually started much earlier already. Back in 2013, the first solution left the market. And obviously, they left a gap in the market, and agriculture had to adapt to the new reality, come up with new solutions, change the practices. And today, actually, in Turkey, we are in a similar situation, right? Because just recently it was decided that also here neonics are no longer allowed to be used in agriculture. And now the question is, what comes next? How are the farmers, the seed companies, everyone in the value chain, how are they going to adapt to this change and make sure they still produce food and, deliver what is needed? So, yeah, that's why we are here today.
And that's a question to put to yourself, Mustafa. How are farmers feeling with the recent announcement in Turkey? What is the impact likely to have on farmers?
And the impact will be verified based on crop type and regions and the pest pressure. And I can estimate the impact of the growers in two main headings. I can say the first main heading is short-term challenges. Short-term challenges, I can say, increase, the pest pressure and higher cost and the knowledge gap, because the farmers are used neonics application. They are set up and they forget it principle. They are comfortable to manage the pests. Also, we are seed companies. So the other aspect, maybe there can be some long-term opportunities here. Long-term opportunities, I can say better pollination and biodiversity. Also, another long-term opportunities can be sustainable farming initiatives and some market advantages, because as global customers become more eco-conscious, and Turkish farmers might gain a competitive edge in markets that favor that prefer low pesticide or pollinator-friendly production. Also, if we look at consider the impact of this ban on seed companies and seed producers, I can say neonics were particularly important and effectively for seed companies and the producers in combating soil pests like such as wireworms, as well as cutworms at seedling stage, and early sucking insect. In fact, so far, with a single seed treatment, it was possible to effectively effectively control all three pests. But for last 40 years, winters have been warmer in Turkey. So, because of the global warming, also this caused soil pests to stay more comfortable in the fields and increase their population even more. So the fight against them should be carried out even more effectively. As you know, in Turkey, the use of neonics in seed treatment was permitted only until this March 2025. As of that date, neonics will be no longer be allowed in any form of seed treatment. As a seed company, we have been researching alternatives to neonics for the past 3 years. We are testing both biological and chemical alternatives offered by crop production companies in our own production research department. Last season, our production research department tested 2 registered seed treatments were presented as alternatives. The result was promising. This season, we will try these 2 seed treatments on larger scale and evaluate the outcomes. Hopefully, this result in second year will also be positive, and these products can become a viable solution for seed companies and after the post neonics work in Turkey. At the same time, we also test some biological alternatives.
Wissam, I might pause you there because I think we'll come back a little bit to that once you've heard a little bit about what happened in Europe, because it'd be interesting to draw on some of the work that you're looking at and alternatives. I might get that to Monika later, because I think you mentioned earlier about things like knowledge gap and things that can help you realize what you said was potentially a long-term opportunity. So we can turn a little bit about what we can look at later in that. I might pause and I might come to Thibaut, because you were, of course, working in Europe at the time when neonics were banned. What impact did that have? The same question I asked the staff at the time. What impact did that have on farmers in Europe?
But it certainly did increase uncertainty, because at the time these bans started, there was no broadly registered and as effective alternative on the market. There were some alternatives that provided partial control, But those were tools that were neither widely registered, nor did the farmers really have access at the time to information on those alternatives and how to integrate them in their cultural practices. So initially, the result was quite a bit of confusion while our customers, the farmers, were trying to understand how to plan for this transition.
What was the impact on seed industries?
Well, in the seed industry, certainly. Well, if you allow me, I'll touch back on farmers again. Another piece that was challenging for farmers is really understanding this availability, because in Europe, for the most part, although there are some exceptions, the ability to treat is based on the registration you get in the country where you treat. But the farmers often get seed that is supplied from different countries, because seed companies such as ours or other members in the industry often produce in a different country. So it was not very visible for farmers also if they can access those technologies. The other piece still on farmers, Claire, is we don't sell single seed treatments. Farmers often combine different solutions. And those early alternatives that were on the market are not always compatible. So what happened is, beyond understanding the control on insects, they had also sometimes to make trade-offs between solutions they couldn't use together. So am I more worried about burger currency, or am I worried more about insects? Some choices, obviously, they don't want to make. But to follow up on your question, for the industry, it really disrupted the supply chains. As I mentioned just now, again, in most cases, what you can put in the seed depends on where you treat it. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, it depends on the registration in the country where you treat. And as I mentioned, we produce seeds as an industry in other countries. So all of a sudden, what the industry had to do is shift sometimes some seeds to be treated and bagged in countries where we didn't intend to, not necessarily have the capacity, not necessarily in the same production area. And our system, our supply chains are not built for that. So it puts some constraints and created some delays in some cases for supplying the farmer with the seed. Also linked to the supply chain, some of those registrations that we started getting for those alternative solutions were emergency registration, because in Europe it takes a lot of time to get full registrations. Typically, those emergency registrations are time-bound. They're limited for a certain number of days. So you tend to get them late in the season. While this is okay for the farmers to use, again, it delays the time at which the seed companies can start treating, putting some capacity strains in terms of delivering the seed. So overall, I would say it put a big constraint on the supply chain, resulting in delays.
And of course, Mustafa had mentioned there about short-term challenges, long-term opportunities. It was different in Europe in terms of that transition. Did it seem like there was the same preparation there? How they overcome the loss in Europe looking ahead?
Yeah, it was actually difficult initially, because like we said, there was a short-term issue that we had to have. Like I mentioned, not all solutions to be put everywhere. So it created a lot of complexity in the types of recipes that you have in each country. Because again, it's not like a simple crop protection product where you're applying a product and a rate. Here you're applying product in combinations with other products, with polymers into a recipe on a seed. And those of us who are seed producers here know that the testing is very complex for that. Whenever you put a solution in place like this, you're going to have to test for things like plantability. When I apply this particular recipe, how does the seed plant, depending on the different genetics that I have? You're going to test for application. Is there any stickiness? Is there any dust? How does the treatment resist to abrasion in the bag? You're going to test seed safety. How safe is it to the seed now, but also in 3 months or in a year? That takes time. You're, of course, going to test that it's safe to the operators that put it on the seed, to the people who handle the seed, and ultimately to the farmer. So all of these aspects take time. We had to develop capacity to do that. And we had to ensure that we can do it on a large number of treatments. So it was hard to overcome. ultimately, the answer we knew from the beginning. The answer is identifying a solution which can be effective, registered broadly, and has a high level of compatibility with the different treatments. We knew that early on. Diamide chemistries such as Lumivia were registered in Europe, Lumivia that we're registering here, they do have those properties. The challenge in Europe is the regulatory framework is extremely complex and takes a lot of time. So we had to go through a transition before we could get those solutions in the market. In Turkey, however, that's what we believe we're doing faster and better ahead of the transition, as we're seeing those chemistries arrive ahead of that transition, allowing for hopefully a smoother process.
And it's interesting hearing Thibaut's lessons from what happened in Europe. What does that sort of lead you thinking was that, and what would you be asking to the seed industry to support Turkish farmers, Turkish agriculture through the change?
I would like to express my thought in two categories. The one category is the general agriculture industry. The second one, especially seed industry, seed companies. As a general aspect, I would group my expectation and or my hope into 5 key actions the agricultural industry should take to successfully to adapt to a post neonic world. The first one is accelerate integrated pest management adaptation. Here, industry's role can be immersed in tools and the platforms that help farmers make IPM decisions. For example, pest forecasting apps, sensors, or advisory services. Train agronomists and extension workers to guide farmers in IPM strategies, and partner with government to provide subsidies and incentives for IPM adoption. The second key action is develop and to promote bee-safe alternatives. For this action, industry can play a role in speeding up R&D on targeted short residual chemicals or RNA-based insecticides that don't persist in the environment. The other role can be support biotech development for pest-resistant crop varieties. The other roles can be promote biologicals, beneficial fungi, bacteria, something like that, where feasible. The third key action can be improve access to data and pest monitoring. Here also, industry can play a role in deploy pest traps, remote sensors, and the drone monitoring at scale, and sharing regional pest pressure data through cooperatives or agriculture tech platforms. Also, another roles can be helping farmers make real-time decisions through AI assisted tools. I can say the fourth key action is invest in farmer education and transformation and support. Here, industry can play a role in funding education programs on farm demonstrations and transformation toolkits, and maybe working with governments and universities to create free advisory services. The last one, embrace ecological and regenerative principles. For this area, industry can play a role in supporting cover cropping, crop rotation, and conservation farming, and maybe funding research into how private farms can suppress pests nationally. The other role can be rewarding regenerative outcomes. As a seed companies, we expect some effects and the desired characteristics. Actually, the Thibaut mentioned it before. Just, I will add some things. The first, of course, the seed treatment, the seed pesticide should be effective against target pests to ensure ease of using. The other one, the seed treatment should be formulated as liquid forms and with systematic activity.
I might pause you there, Mustafa, because I was going to put the question to Monika. What are you going to say in response? I don't know if you picked up all of your key asks there, so I'm not going to get you to focus on everything, but thank you for sharing that. It's good to get a bit of a breakdown of the different areas you can see support. Is there anything that stuck out to you that you think that food industry can do to help Turkish agriculture with this change? What do you see going forward?
Well, first of all, you talked a lot about solutions, innovation, and I think this resonates very well with me because I truly think the role of the industry is to deliver these solutions and these innovations to the market and make them available for the seed companies, for the farmers. At the end of the day, we are here to give you the toolbox you need to navigate the challenges you have, and not just you as a seed company, but also farmers. So at the end of the day, delivering peace of mind. And, that's at the core of Corteva as well. Now, hearing what you're expecting, hearing the challenges Thibaut mentioned about Turkey, I think in Turkey we're at a different spot than we were in Europe because we are ahead of the game. And why am I saying that? So Corteva already multiple years ago, actually, we took the bold step to focus on Turkey finding an alternative. Because here we have to say innovation doesn't happen overnight. And even if the innovation bit happens overnight, making it available takes a lot of time. You mentioned it, you're testing. I mean, this takes time. You have to go through that. It's not from within one night, right? So actually coming back, we anticipated this change and worked on a solution a couple of years ago already. And now the solution is actually already here. I mean, you have Lumivia in the market. It was launched 2 years ago already. So, its efficacy is proven in the market. We went through all this steps. It has registration, full registration, which is absolutely key. Thibaut mentioned it. That was a hassle in Europe. So today it's registered, fully registered across multiple crops. And I think with that, we are actually giving one of the tools you need. I know you were talking integrated pest management. It might not be this one silver bullet, even though I truly believe it's close to a silver bullet. But in that remark, with Lumivia, it doesn't end. We are working on further solutions. We are working in the biological space as well. I mean, there's clear expectation from society, from seed companies, for everyone, and we are fully committed to that. I mean, we did acquire also companies in that space. We have collaboration, so we will push for that. And we look at the whole crop cycle. Of course, focus here is seed treatment, and that's, you mentioned it, this hassle of early insect pest pressure. That's really what you tackle with the seed treatment. But you need to go beyond that, right? You need to go into the whole crop cycle. So we look at that from a holistic point of view as well. And I think we're quite proud, that we can give this peace of mind to the Turkish market today, that actually, it's already there. The change is happening. The adaptation is happening, and we're supporting this change.
Monika, you made sure you Lumivia there. Is there any other seed applied insecticides coming down the line? Are there other candidates?
Well, as I just mentioned, from a pipeline perspective, of course, we're working on the solution. I said it before, you need to be ahead of the game. And even though I don't think there will be beyond Lumivia, there will for sure be combinations and additional product being brought to the market for sure. And we are committed to that.
When we heard from Thibaut earlier about the challenging transition period in Europe, can you tell us in a little bit about what's happening today in Europe?
Well, in Europe, I think we are also at a different stage today. And also Thibaut here mentioned it already. Diamonds are also in Europe today. We have Chirouzes in the meantime, and this took time. We have to face it. It took time, but in the meantime, we have broad registration across European countries. Of course, especially matching the ones where the seeds actually get treated. Lumivia is also registered across different crops. By the way, it's not the only compound we have registered today. There's, for example, also ortamide. We have a pipeline. We're pushing for it. Biologicals equally important. So I think it took more time in Europe, but also today we're back at the level where we can really deliver effective tools to the seed companies and to the farmer at the end of the day.
Thanks, Monika. And I guess yourself and the staff are listening into Monika's comments, Thibaut's sort of lessons and conversations. What does that sort of fill you with in terms of, or give you a sense of moving forward for Turkey? What's your sort of reaction?
Like Monika said, we have some alternatives in Turkey. So as I mentioned before, we tested last year, and also we will test the second time this year. Also last year we were happy with the results. So we will just, we need to be sure the result of the chemicals. So with these alternatives, I think that we can manage this challenge to adapt after loss of neonics as a, the seed producer, as a seed company. But also we need more alternatives in the market. Maybe as a biological alternatives we need more. And I think that it is a challenge, but I feel comfortable. I'm myself, so I know we can solve all together with all stakeholders.
It's good having these conversations because you're reacting in real time to what's happening and be able to like. Sorry, Monika, did you want to add anything in there?
Yeah, what I really liked is this all together, right? And that's where we have to go. And be ensured that we are here to support the journey, to support the change, because that's not what I didn't mention that before. But again, for a seed company to change a seed treatment, it's also nothing that happens overnight. And at Corteva, we have a Center for Seed Applied Technologies, and they focus specifically on the application bit. And this is really, to ensure the quality of the treatment, to ensure that you don't have the stickiness you mentioned before, And I know this is extremely important for you. So it's not just about performance, it's also about the way you get the product applied and applied together. Your recipe, you might have a specific biostimulant you want to add, We have to make sure that this is going to work out and have no impact on the quality of your seed or even on the planting process. So we are exactly here to support that change, this adaptation, and I'm looking forward to the together part.
Thibaut, do you want to share any sort of final words and reflections?
This transition in Europe was certainly not easy, but it gave us the opportunity to learn what the needs were and learn how we address those transitions. Monika rightly stated, it's not only a product. There's a lot of things that need to happen to make this easier when the industry to accompany it, and that's certainly where we're trying to provide the value beyond the product. So we're happy to be exchanging with you all today, and certainly look forward to any questions you have at our booth on how we can support this in your businesses to make sure this transition is smooth.
And I guess, Masata, it's great to hear you're fairly optimistic and you're talking about sort of long-term opportunities coming up, and it's great to hear Corteva leading the conversation on this too. So best of luck in that transition. And I guess I'm gonna call it to a close just now. Just really thank you all for your valuable insights, your reflections on what's happened before, and also the real actions that we can take moving forward. So I think it's really good to have those focus points. But like Thibaut was saying, I think Corteva's welcoming anyone to the booth afterwards. If there's any follow-up questions, do make sure to continue the conversation. But for now, we can thank our panel, Thibaut, Mustafa, and Monika for their early contributions. Thank you so much.